Hey everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm really sorry, but this is going to be a very quiet video. I can't talk. I've been waiting to make the editing of this video for about 10 days now because I'm sick, almost 2 weeks, and it does not get better. I don't have a voice, and so I have to do the editing now because it's Wednesday and the video has to go up. Um, it will be a quiet one. I don't want to talk in between very much. If you are, if you have already watched some of my videos, you probably already know what I'm doing. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments and I try to answer them. I'm starting out with Collage. I'm using the art journal from Action, which is a very cheap art journal, but I love it. I explained that a bunch of times in my other videos. There are all the products linked in the description as well as the blog post where you can have a look at the close-up images. And I'm starting with my handmade collage papers. There are also videos up for some of them, especially that black one and the pink I'm going to use later. I'm going to link that up so you can watch it. And I'm using my glue stick. Once I've adhered everything, I'm going to cover the whole page with clear gesso, and then I'm going to play with some really lovely inks today from Ferris Wheel Press. There's also a discount code for their inks in the description box and a link to their shop. I think it's a Canadian company and they produce their inks in England, if I'm not wrong. And they also sell fountain pens. They have a really, really lovely collection of inks. They are very special and I feel very honored that I can work with them. Yeah, I'm going to stay quiet now as much as I can, and I will try to explain things if there is happening something special. I'm going to speed up that collage process a little so you don't get bored. Before I'm adding the gesso, I wanted to add a little bit of color just to see what happens. And I'm using Inktense pencils and scribble a little bit of that color to some areas on the background. These are going to blend with water or any liquid medium like the gesso. I just wanted to add and see what happens. And now I'm going to add a layer of clear gesso with a silicone brush. I really like clear gesso because it has some grit to it. When you work with watercolor or ink on top, that works better than a matte medium. That gesso has to dry now, and before I'm going to leave it to dry, I'm adding a little bit more texture with a stencil and acrylic paint. The gesso dries quite quickly, so it's not very wet at that stage, and I'm just using that stencil together with some paint and a sponge to make some more texture on the background. And then everything can dry completely. I have a lot of paint left and I will apply that to the left page. There is nothing on there yet. I just put that down. And here I'm trying out the ink I wanted to use, and that is the Ferris Wheel Press Citadel Dust. Not sure if this is pronounced right. It's a lovely golden greenish ink with some copper shimmer. I really like it. All the inks I think they have are with shimmer. I'm not sure if all the inks, but the inks I got so far are all with a little bit of shimmer in there. They are really lovely. You have to shake them good. And I use a pipette. Usually I use the brush, but I was always afraid that I would ruin the inks by dipping in the brush, because I did that with a Liquitex acrylic ink in the past, and it now has a very, very ugly smell. So I was a bit afraid I would ruin my Ferris wheel press ink, so I got some pipettes, and now I'm using them only with the pipette, so I do not no longer dip brushes into the inks. I wet the page and then I dipped in some of the ink, and here I'm moving it around with the brush. It's a really lovely process. I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, these are really lovely inks. Of course, if you don't have these inks, you can do a very similar page by just using another ink. You can use watercolor, you can use acrylic ink. I would recommend using something that is transparent, because these inks are very transparent, so you get the same look. But it's not necessary to have these inks to create that spread. Next, I wanted to use pinkish ink, and that's the Rose at Dawn ink. Very lovely color. I didn't know that when I was testing it for the first time, so I did it also on the left side just to try it out, to see how intense it is, how it looks, if it would work with my page. I loved how this turned out. I let that dry completely and then I came back and I wanted to add a little bit of white ink just to blend everything, to give it another layer. And I carefully add this ink because it's opaque, so I'm not overdoing it. And that's also from Ferris Wheel Press. That's the Feathers and Fringe ink. It's a permanent ink. It looks to me like an acrylic ink in white, so I think there is not a lot of difference. And I'm adding it, as I said, carefully. And I'm also going to add some white splatters, but I'm waiting until the page is dry before I make the white splatters, because I don't want them to bleed. So I'm adding a little bit of white ink to my paper. The black paint is already dry and I can use it as kind of a palette on that paper. And I'm adding a bit of water with my brush, and then I can do some splatters with that white ink. And then of course I have to let that dry again. And I have some of that white left and I just smear it to the left side of that page. This is going to be a nice starting point for another art journal spread. Now it's time to finish that spread. I want to add a focal point, and here I have one image made with our Sketchy Leaf 7 stencil. There is a video how I made these kind of photo pieces. I'm going to try not forget to link that, and I just have a look if I like it at that place, and I'm going to adhere it, and I'm also going to adhere a title, and that's everything I do. And here you can see the finished page. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope we will see us next time. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye.